Last year I reviewed Season 1 of Outlast, and I'm here to tell you if Season 2 is worth watching or not. If you liked Season 1, I would say you'd probably like Season 2. If you didn't like Season 1, you're probably not going to like Season 2 all that much either. And if you're looking for a survival show to watch and you're a fan of something like Alone, then I would just say you're not going to be interested in this whatsoever. Because it's more so a drama show first and foremost, and a survival show on secondly. Like, it's put on the back burner. It's all about drama, and the teams and the team swapping and people swapping over to different teams and a little bit of sabotage. I also just have to wonder, where does production find these people? Because the vast majority of the cast, even from Season 1, and especially Season 2, have no idea what they're doing. They don't seem like survivalists. They seem like people that might have gone camping a couple times and are like, oh yeah, let's ship them off to Alaska and have them survive in the wilderness. Because there's a group in the show that doesn't even have fire for 7 days. And that's with having flint. They either had flint or a fennel rod, is one of the two, and they couldn't make fire after 7 days, which is insane to me. That's, like, I know that stuff is kind of damp around there, but in that period of time, you should be able to make fire in some way. So ultimately, is Outlast Season 2 better than the first season? I would say yes. It doesn't have Jill and Amber in it. It doesn't have Justin in it. It doesn't have the people that were toxic from the first season in it. There is some drama in it still, but it's nowhere near the level that Season 1 was. So at this point, we're going to go into spoiler territory. Everything from now on is going to be talking about the show. So if you have not seen Season 2 and you want to watch it, click away from the video now because there will be spoilers. Again, from this point on, it's spoiler territory. We're getting into the whole season, okay? Episode 1 of Season 2 of Outlast on Netflix is a direct result of Jill and Amber's actions from the first season. Jill and Amber and Justin all decided to steal sleeping bags and steal resources from the other groups, which has influenced people on this season to do the same exact thing. They saw it could be done in the first season, and that production didn't step in and stop it. So in this season, on the Alpha group on this season, there's a person named Bayo. This guy decides to go over to the Bravo camp and steal their water cans and steal like their water containers and stuff, and he runs off with them and he goes back to his group. And now his group is pissed at him for stealing, and they're like, we don't want to play that way. We want to play with integrity. And then Bravo is pissed at Alpha now because Bravo's like, well, we're going to come over and steal your stuff unless you kick Bayo off of your team. So what ends up happening is Alpha decided to kick Bayo off of their team, and Bayo had to shoot off his flare because there's no one else that he could really go to after doing that. In episode 2, it's more of the same. It's still the drama with Bayo and Alpha, and Alpha wants Bayo off the team. Bravo wants to attack Alpha. Alpha gives the cans back to Bravo, and Bayo has been labeled a snake, and Bravo wants Bayo to flare out. Bayo says, it's just a game, it's just a game. And again, that's a direct result of what was allowed to happen in Season 1. And then Bayo gets kicked off of Alpha, and Bayo shoots off his flare. In episode 3, Bree quits Charlie without telling anyone on her team. She just up and leaves and walks around and goes over to Bravo. And she tries to join Bravo, but initially they don't want her on their team. But then they decide to have her spend the night with them, and they just don't want anyone else to join Alpha. Alpha also loses another member because Zach fell and got injured, and he had to be medevaced, and they shut off his flare. But Bree does end up joining Bravo because they only want Alpha to have 2 people now because they've lost, Alpha's lost 2 people. In episode 4, Joey makes a pitch to join Delta because he's lost his other members of Charlie. Bree left, and then the other two were, one was medevac technically, and the other one quit. So Joey was by himself, and he makes his pitch to join Delta. Delta accepts Joey as part of their team. At this point, Alpha has 2, Delta has 5, and Bravo has 5. Delta kind of regrets their decision to add Joey to their camp. In episode 5, Tonya is medevaced. She went unconscious and had to be pulled from the game. And Trey was left by himself on Alpha, but he didn't want to go to any of the other groups, especially not Bravo, after what happened. And Trey ended up shooting off his flare, and then Alpha group was no more. But before Trey left, he hid all of his supplies before leaving so that Bravo didn't get them. At this point, it's only Bravo and Delta left. They each have 5 members, and a resource drop comes on all 4 camps. Bravo and Delta both get their own resource drops, as well as the vacant drops in A and C on their respective beaches. Brandon experiences hypothermia from being in the water because he had to get in the water to get his supply drop. And for whatever reason, Emily from Bravo decides to take a raft to this island that's out in the middle, because the supply drops had a raft that was like floating with it. And so she took the buoys and strapped them to this raft. And she left 4 hours before nightfall, and the tide was going up. It's like, why would you do that? Why? You're just stupid. So she went over to this island and found, I guess it was like shrimp traps or something that were put there, which is kind of weird that they were there to begin with, but I'm guessing production put them over there, those shrimp traps. Well, she ends up finding those and putting them on her little raft, and she's not able to paddle back across, and it's getting dark, and the current is pushing her out to sea, because as it gets darker and as the tide changes, the current goes strong out to the ocean. And so she was getting pushed further and further away from her beach, probably even at the point of passing the old Alpha camp at that point. In episode 6, the Emily saga continues. Basically, she's pushed further and further out by the current, out to the ocean, basically. And she ends up calling for help and ends up flaring out and quitting the game. I don't know why she decided to do that all of a sudden, especially so late in the day, when you know for a fact that the days are getting shorter and shorter. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know why you would do that. Really, really dumb decision. And after that, Bravo wants to go back to Alpha and get their raft. Want to take it back to their camp. And Joey, for whatever reason, gets obsessed over visiting Bravo from the Delta camp. And he keeps talking about going over to Bravo constantly, and he's pissing off and annoying his groups on Delta. And then Bree ends up getting sick, and Bravo really doesn't seem concerned about it. I mean, they were kind of being douchebags about it when she got sick. They're like, oh, yeah, I hope you get better. Yeah. Like, they were just like that. Like, they didn't care at all that she was getting sick. She gets checked by medical. Medical seemed concerned about her, so she ends up quitting and shooting off her flare. At that point, Bravo has 3 people left. Delta has 5 left. And a helicopter comes and drops 2 boats off and a resource drop inside the boats. And Delta ends up making it to their boat first. Bravo has issues getting to their boat, but Drew couldn't get to their boat like for a long time. But eventually, in episode 7, Drew does stick his legs into the water and ends up kicking and making it to his boat. Delta ends up catching shrimp with the traps that they got from the boat, and Bravo uses their boat to go visit Delta, and they tried to intimidate Delta, but there's only, 3 of them left, and there's 5 on Delta, so big whoop, Another helicopter comes off to drop a letter saying that in 48 hours they'll have the final trek for the $1 million prize, and it says, are these your final teams or whatever? So That's one of the annoying things that I think is about this show is the final trek. It doesn't make any sense. If it's a survival show, it should be until there's only one team left standing, like survival-wise. It shouldn't be a race to the end. It doesn't make any sense for a survival show to have a race at the end. And it's an unfair race, by the way, because they both have different kinds of terrain they have to walk over and stuff. Doesn't make any sense. But anyways, Drake and Drew end up getting worried about Sammy. And they were douchebags about it again. They told Sammy, hey, you're sick, you're not doing so well, you kind of feel weak. You should just go home. So they told him, yeah, just leave. You should just leave. Get out of here. Just go home. And, Sammy's all nice and everything about it. He's like, well, I don't want to bring you guys down. You guys are right. And he goes and shoots off his flare. And they basically forced Sammy to leave because they also talked about trying to vote him out. If he wouldn't leave, they were going to vote him off of their group. And for sure Delta wasn't going to take him. They don't need a sixth person. So Sammy ends up shooting off his flare. And at that point, Bravo has 2 people left. Delta has 5. There's 5. So Bravo gets to the end. They'll get $500,000 apiece because there's only 2 of them. If Delta gets to the end of this point, they each get $200,000 apiece because there's 5 people left. So Joey, though, at the end of this episode, he leaves with the boat to try and join Bravo. Yeah, you heard me right. He just leaves with the boat without telling any of his people and goes over and tries to join Bravo. Bravo says no to Joey's proposal, obviously, because, well, that's just one more person to split the money with, and they're so close to the end anyways, why not? And plus, Bravo's a lot more fit than Delta is anyways. And Bravo says that Joey has no loyalty. And, yep, that is true. In the finale, Delta does find out about Joey visiting Bravo. And Joey tries to lie and say that he was just fishing. Yep, I was just out there fishing. That's what he said. So Joey continues to lie about trying to join Bravo. Delta does seem to forgive Joey, and even Eric forgives Joey. Eric's working on himself. Eric kind of was a character that was kind of harsh to people over the season, but he kind of got better as the season went on, and I think he did a lot of digging, and learning about himself. Then the helicopter comes, drops the map, and they must start and finish as a team. The race to the finish. Now, a note here. Bravo can't read a compass. I quote, I'm not super comfortable using a compass. Where are the producers finding these people? If you're going on a survival show, you should know how to read a compass. You should know how to start a fire. So, again, it's different paths. How is this actually a fair race? How is it a race in general? A race, you go down the same path, right? No, they're separate paths. They're completely different in what they have to walk through and go through. So it ends up at the final challenge. Bravo makes it there first, and it comes up, they get it to a box, and there's a bow drill kit to light a signal fire. And again, Bravo's like, well, I've never used a bow drill before. Like, how have you dudes not ever used a bow drill? You're out here surviving, right? How have you never used a bow drill? Well, they end up doing it and lighting it off, and Bravo ends up winning. Delta gets there after them, and they're upset, obviously, but they end up using their bow drill and lighting their fire anyways, just because they want to complete it. And they both sides completed the race, but in the end, Bravo won. Personally, I would have wanted Delta to win. I think that the Bravo guys, they kind of douchebags, and they kept yelling, I've got that dog in me! I've got that dog in me! It's like, how many times are you going to say that? Like, they probably said it like 20 times in the last episode. New drinking game. Take a shot every time they say, I got that dog in me. Well, anyways, I want to know what you guys think in the comments below about this season. How do you think it compares to Season 1? And did you even bother watching Season 2? I want to know what you guys think. This is Not the Average Gamers. Sign off. Hope you guys enjoyed my coverage of Outlast Season 2. Bye.